today's news on Fox. Coming up, we'll be talking about topics ranging from conflicts in the Middle East, then on to lighter topics such as the O.J. Simpson's trial. But I won't be alone. Say hello to my two co-hosts, Matt Godfrey and Gavin Grismer. Up first, we have Gavin with some interesting news.
Hey, thanks, Pat. Starting us off in 1994, an interesting investigation began against the Clinton family. Attorney General Janet Reno launched an investigation after multiple reports that the Whitewater Development Corporation was just a front to take money and fund Clinton's presidential campaign. Meanwhile, Fidel Castro and President Clinton were forced to make an agreement after Castro announced he won't stop Cubans from trying to leave Cuba. After 30,000 illegal Cubans were caught trying to re-enter the United States, it was agreed to allow 20,000 Cuban visas per year. Up next, on a different pace, we have the O.J. Simpson trial. In 1994, coming to a close. In the summer of 1994, O.J.'s wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman were found brutally murdered in front of Ronald's condominium. Guilt automatically fell on the beloved football hero O.J. Simpson, even though the police had not finished their investigation. However, the case had finally come to a close. O.J. was acquitted of all charges and was released this morning. He vows to find the man that killed his wife. Anyway, we turn to Juan with the events in the UK.
Alright then. Well, up next we turn over to the events in the UK, Earth's least magic kingdom, and we come to you with a recap of the death of Princess Diana. Princess Diana of the English royal family was killed in a car crash in France. Her work for charities and other humanitarian efforts were loved by both British and Americans alike, and will be a cherished icon of the decade. Moving south of the equator, South Africa has recently had a tremendous change. Over the decade, in 1992, South African majority had voted to end rule by the minority whites. In 1994, South Africa held its first free elections and had elected Nelson Mandela as its president. In 1996, South African lawmakers had passed a democratic constitution that gave equal rights to all of its citizens. And now we move across the ocean to one of the nicest nations in the world, El Salvador. After 12 years of conflict, the civil war in El Salvador has come to an end. And in 1992, when the Republican National Alliance and rebels agreed to a peace agreement which called for a ceasefire. President Alfredo Cristante had agreed to end corrupt business practices and cut the army in half. Eventually, the government opened up, and many former rebels were able to obtain seats in the National Assembly. And with that, we at Fox News would like to say America had nothing to do with El Salvador or any part of Latin America at all. And with that out of the way, we have Patrick with the Middle Eastern Report. Patrick!
In 1998, the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda staged a pair of deadly attacks against American targets. 2 U.S. embassies in Africa were bombed at almost the exact same time on August 7, 1998. Al-Qaeda attacked the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. Powerful blasts rocked both buildings. The Kenya bomb killed 213 people, including 12 Americans. Moving over to Europe, 1998, a long-standing feud between the Serbs and ethnic Albanians in the southern Serbian province of Kosovo developed into an armed conflict between Serbian police forces and the KALA. In 1999, Slobodan Milosevic launched a full-scale military operation in Kosovo. The United States and its allies feared the instability of Albania, Kosovo, and Macedonia could spread to surrounding countries such as Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey. This might trigger a general war in the Southern Balkans.
They're going to war, aren't they?
Yes they are. Moving back to the Middle East, the past decade has seen some progress with relations between Israel and Palestine. In 1993, the Middle East was able to reach a peace agreement. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin met in Washington, D.C. to work on a peace accord with the help of President William Clinton. On September 13, the meeting had concluded with a treaty which was one of the most promising peace agreements in the Middle East since the 70s. The agreement allowed the Palestinian self-rule of the Gaza Strip and Jericho. Israel would pull most of the troops out of the region but keep enough in the region to give support to the settlers in the region. The treaty was put in place in 1994 However, the issue of who had control of Jerusalem is still uncertain. Good for Bill getting those nations together. It's not like a president would just toss out decades of foreign policy when dealing with those two nations. That would be stupid. And with that, we now turn to Pablo with our pop culture news.
Okay, how come my name changes every time? Oh, wait, it's Fox News. Never mind. Oh well. Anyway, starting off with some of the decade's most popular trends, tongue piercings. Did I read that right? Tongue piercings? Okay then. Traditionally, body piercings was a cultural practice. In the 1980s, it was mostly women who pierced their ears, sometimes having many piercings on one ear. By the 1990s, both males and females took part in the piercing craze. Piercings strayed from the traditional area earlobes as they began showing up in all parts of the body. I'll leave it at that. And moving on, we go to movies. This lighthearted film would be... Oh, wait, sorry, I was misinformed. The movie is Titanic. Oops. More than 80 years after the unsinkable ship sank, director James Cameron filmed a movie about the ill-fated liner. In 1998, Titanic hit the big screen. The story was a true account of the disastrous first voyage of the ship, combined with the fictional love story of two young people aboard the Titanic. When doing research for the film, Cameron had sent remote-control cameras to the wreckage of the actual Titanic at the bottom of the ocean to record how it looked. He wanted to include authentic design details in his movie. Wow, now I feel awful for calling it lighthearted.
Shame on you, Juan.
Oh, whatever. Moving along, we take a look at an iconic movie actress, Julia Roberts. Julia used her southern charm and wholesomeness to break into Hollywood, and her talent had kept her there. She got her break in the 1988 film Satisfaction, from where she moved from movie to movie, appearing in Mystic Pizza, Steel Magnolias, and for which she won a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, and Flatliners 1990. Flatliners was a star-studded film, boosting Roberts into the ranks of Kiefer Sutherland and Kevin Bacon. I still have no idea who those people are.
Okay, Davis, how do you not know who Julia Roberts is, or Kevin Bacon? Have you ever seen Hook, or A Few Good Men?
No, not at all. Okay.
Okay, up next we have the environmental report, starting off with the cloning of sheep. Yeah, you heard that right, cloning of sheep. Dolly the sheep was genetically cloned from another fully grown lamb, which gave scientists the prospect of future cloning projects. Now for one of the biggest shocks to many scientists and Fox News, we talk about global warming. A definitive report in 1995 by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, sponsored by the UN, declared that due to human activity, the world would eventually heat up by 2 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. Many nations are beginning to set up measures to help combat global warming. One being in the US, the electric car. In 1990, the Clean Air Act had asked automakers to produce an energy-efficient car that would be cleaner than the other cars out there. These models were developed over the years, but none of them ever really took off. You know, global warming is a thing. I mean, is it a thing? I mean, really, this could be just what the, you know, what are the words I'm looking for? Like, fake news.
Gavin, who says fake news? No one says fake news.
Easy, El Chapo. All right. You know, now we go over to Patrick with sports.
Yes, it's been an exciting time this past decade. Let's take a look at some of our favorite moments. First, we come to you with the X Games. During the X Games, the Generation Xers who were into grudge and alternative lifestyle enjoyed snowboarding, skateboarding, and motocross. In 1955, the sports channel ESPN launched its first X Games, which is a sort of Olympic for extreme sports, and still continues on to this day. And moving on to the most boring sport of all time, golf. In 1997, a 21-year-old athlete amazed fans and other golfers. Tiger Woods earned the green jacket when he won the U.S. Masters tournament. He was the youngest person to win the tournament, While he was at it, he broke the all-time scoring record and won by the largest number of strokes. Among Woods' other victories were the 2000 British Open, the 2000 U.S. Open, and the 1998 and 2000 Professional Golfers Association Championships. But not all sports can be as boring as golf, as we all roll into our next piece, the baseball strike. In August 1994, Major League Baseball players went on a strike that lasted until the following spring. Not only were baseball fans deprived of the last part of the 1994 baseball season, but the strike also caused a cancellation of the World Series, which really upset many Americans from New York to Los Angeles. Now we turn to El Salvador for the next story.
This is just wrong. But anyway, we turn to the defining moments of America, starting with Bill Clinton's impeachment. In 1997, Monica Lewinsky was recorded talking to Linda Tripp about her interactions with President Clinton. In 1998, a case opened against the president in Washington, D.C. He was accused on 11 grounds ranging from perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and abuse of power. On December 11th, 3 articles of impeachment were approved. On December 19th, President Clinton was impeached. Now the vote came whether to remove the president from office or not, as the Constitution states. The Chief Justice, William Rehnquist, and senators were sworn to preside over the case. On February 12, courts were acquitted President Clinton of his impeachment charges, and he stayed in office with a bad public eye. Now over to Gavin with the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yes, a terrible tragedy. Timothy McVeigh drove a rented truck filled with fertilizer and fuel oil into the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. The explosion had occurred at 9:03 a.m., which took off the entire side of a 9-story building. The explosion had left 168 men, women, and children dead. In the end, Timothy McVeigh and his friend Terry Nichols were charged. Nichols received life in prison, and McVeigh was given the death sentence. He will be executed in the near future. Now we have Patrick.
And that's our show for today. Join us next time where Matt hosts a new segment called Outnumbered, which is how he feels here at Fox News. Catch us next time on Fox.
Audio Jungle.